So good evening, Sokoto House family, everybody that's live streaming. Please like, share with your family, your loved ones. We have a very, very, very special treat for you this evening. Some beautiful people doing beautiful things in our community, part of the Sokoto House family, a part of the Wilmington family. Sister Brenda Galloway and Brother Walimu Shihan Whiteout, also known as Brother Reginald Robinson.
Apostle.
Minister Reginald Robinson.
Apostle
Reginald Robinson. Again, like, share, log in. If you've seen it later, we welcome you and we thank you for joining us. We're going to just hang out for just a little bit longer, maybe about another minute, and we actually begin this stream. It's been going how long so far? Okay, 3 minutes. I guess it's good for us to start. Again, everybody can kind of join in later. So what we want to do this evening first is acknowledge, right, all the unsung community leaders, people that people know, but a lot of people don't know, people who are doing amazing work inside of our community, people who are saving lives in our community, people who wake up late nights, taking phone calls, early mornings, going out, visiting family members, visiting other community members, supporting them, supporting other leaders that's doing work in the community. This is what this evening is about. And what we chose to do is highlight a couple of those individuals that here at Sokoto House we know very well, and we feel like it will be a gift for the rest of the community to learn more about them if they don't know. So we're going to start off with first a basic introduction, make sure they're able to say who they are and their names, and then we're going to go through a brief conversation where each will introduce themselves, and then we'll have an opportunity to ask some questions. If you have any questions, you can also always put them inside the chat, and after they finish their kind of like general dialogue with us, we'll ask those questions for you. So we'll start off with Brother Shihan. Tell us about yourself real quick.
Good evening, my brothers. Grace and peace to all my brothers and sisters and all of you who are out there watching on tonight. My name is Apostle Reginald Robinson slash Shihan Whiteout. I'm a native from right here in the city of Wilmington. Born right here in 1963 in the city of Wilmington, North Carolina at Community Hospital. I was originally raised up in the red brick Gervais. Today we have what you call Gervais down on 10th Street, but I came out of that original red brick Gervais. Those of you who are native of Wilmington know exactly what I'm talking about. Power to the family and peace to the family of Gervais. Let me see, I was born, my father was Mr. Walter Robinson Sr. My mother was Miss Shirley Robinson. Again, we lived in the Gervais area, later on moved to the Westchester area. Had a very interesting childhood growing up in Gervais. My school years was somewhat kind of tumultuous, I would say, growing up in the city of Wilmington. During that time, it was a time of rioting, a time of extremely extensive racism going on, even in the school system. Early on in my life, I had to learn what it was to survive by any means necessary. I must say first, I grew up in a real good home environment. I had 8 brothers and sisters whom I dearly admire. They were my mentors. I watched my older brothers and sisters, and I watched what they do, and I learned from them. Therein, too, I had somewhat of a secret side to myself. My brothers was more like sport-oriented in the basketball and baseball. I found myself delving into the martial arts. Back in the old days, coming from a large family, my mama didn't really have enough money to send me to these schools or the karate dojos of that time. So I was privy to magazines and just picking up information and on some of the martial art mentors of that time. People like Moses Power of the Sanukas Roof family, Sabir, Saijo Muhammad, Grandmaster Muhammad, Soki Littlejohn, and most of the Sanukas Roof family. I looked up to Grandmaster Victor Moore, you know what I'm saying, and Grandmaster Ronald Dunkins, God bless him. These were the earlier pioneers of martial arts. These were the black pioneers of martial arts. These were the grandfather of the martial art, paying homage to some unsung heroes that names never made the book. Sensei Herbert Rumbo, Sensei Lawrence Wims of the Shotokan Society. Back in those days, we had somewhat of our own martial arts society. Everybody in Gervais somewhat knew karate. Everybody knew kung fu, and it was funny because because we had those friends who were attending the karate schools and who were attending the after-school karate schools, but the experience for me was somewhat different. I was introduced to karate actually before Sensei Chuck Allen, who was one of my number one mentors. He introduced me to the Shaolin Kempo system. But before then, I had a school teacher over at Wilm Hooper. She was a math teacher, and I had problem with math. I had some problems with math, couldn't count backwards 2 to 3. And so anyway, she said, I noticed you love those karate books. You keep those karate books. And she said, I'll make you a deal. I know somebody, I know a karate man. And if you do your math and attend to your work, I'll introduce you to a real karate man. I said, whoa, a real karate man? She said, yeah, a real karate man. Now, I want you to understand the dynamics of what I'm saying. During this time, this was a white teacher. I was coming out of Gervais. It was a very tumultuous, strenuous, racist time. And I'm going to be straight up. Couldn't stand crackers at that time. White people, you know what I'm saying, was like, yo, nah, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even want my white teachers touching me. You know what I'm saying? Don't touch me. And so, but anyway, when she started mentioning karate, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. She might be cool after all. I don't know. And so she said, well, I'm going to make you a deal, Reginald. And I said, what's the deal? If you let me help you with your lesson, we'll see about getting you into some karate. I said, okay. Needless to say, me and Miss Abby Eubanks, I don't think she's living, so I'll call her name, became very good friends. And it was funny. And sure enough, one day I got a visitor in class. And in come this white man, this big white man with this beard. And he walks in and he has this white karate uniform on, this gi and this black belt. And he comes in and he's barefoot. And I'm like, whoa, a karate man. And so he comes over, he begins to talk to me about karate. But he begins to explain to me, he said, what the number one thing about karate you're going to have to learn is discipline and manners and behaviors. And he started talking about how to carry yourself and how to love one another and how to get along and understanding the spirit of unity. And I was like, wow, man, this is kind of foreign to me. Needless to say, I took him up on the deal. And he introduced me to a group of individuals who was a part of what they called back then the Olympics Training Hall, and it was located over there behind Hanover, next to Parches, across the street. And so, but when I got there and opened up, there were all these black karate masters up in there. I was like, whoa! And so these guys were like, you know, some of them had just come out of Nam, and some of them, you know, just come out of the war. And they was like saying, well, they formed a group and say, well, we formed this particular group because we want to be a mentor to the inner city youth. And you were one of the people who we chose, so we're going to bring you in, we're going to train you. It was a very interesting group because this particular group, it wasn't like an ordinary karate class. This was more like a combat class. And most of them were, it's okay to say most of them was Panther associated. I won't call them names, but most of them was Panther associated, you know, during the time that was going on. And so we started our training in combat, Shotokan, karate, judo.
When you say Panther, you explain Black Panthers?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, during the Black Panthers, it was during that time, the Panther movement, but I wasn't considered a Panther, I was considered a Cub. And so anyway, at least I thought I was. And so anyway, needless to say, that program began to steer me somewhat. It gave me some purpose. It gave me some aim. And it gave me somewhat a sense of culturalization at an early age on how to begin to understand other ethnicity groups and a little better understanding the Caucasian nature. And so that's what martial art in the beginning done for me. And so, but as I grew in time, I began to venture into martial arts, began to study various systems from Shaolin Kempo, Karate Kung Fu, Shun Fa, Wing Chun. Now this was back in the 70s when I started doing the Wing Chun, when Wing Chun really wasn't popular. Now, like today, everybody is a grandmaster in Wing Chun, and everybody's a grandmaster in this. Well, back then, we weren't considered grandmasters and black belts. And what we were doing, we were just students of the art, students of the science. And eventually we did begin to get into some of the systems where they start using the ranking system. But the first ranking system that I entered in was out of the Shotokan school, which was only 2 belts at that time. It was a white belt and it was a black belt. You got the white belt when you started, and 6 years later, you got the black belt, and that was it. But you very rarely heard about grandmasters. But anyway, they were there in the midst. And so the martial art, again, kind of gave me some culturalization, and it done another thing for me as well. Again, growing up in Gervais, I had this ideology of how white people were. And let's just keep it real, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like they was my worst enemy. But as I began to delve into the martial art and meet the different students, I met a lot of white students, and we became friends, and we began to practice katas together, some forms together, and all of a sudden we began to go to tournaments and stuff. And so I started thinking, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, man. You know, some of this stuff, what these brothers and sisters been telling me kind of like don't quite add up. You know what I'm saying? Not all these folks is like bad, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, you know what I'm saying, while I was going to school, it was a couple of them that was going to attend my karate class that was going to my school. And they were white. And it was one particular girl, I won't call her name, I fell in love with this girl, and she was white. And I was like, whoa, this don't supposed to happen, man. This is culture shock to me. It's like, so I began to tell all my friends, man, look, man, I know they mean well, man, but some of that stuff, man, I don't know, man. I met this girl. It's who? What's the sister's name, man? What's the sister's name? I said, nah, the sister's name is Julie, man. Julie? I said, what's that? I said, yeah, man, Julie, she's really cool, man. And she go to karate school. And I said, well, man, I said, she goes to our school. When we go to school, I'm sure. She said, yeah, man, sure, Julie. Yeah, White Owl, man. Yeah, that's what's up. You know, White Owl got a girlfriend. They didn't call them boo then. So we get to school. And this is early years, you know, rolling rice years. We get to school, and, you know, Julie meets me at the bus ramp, and there she goes. Boom. Everybody said, oh, she's white, you know. And so all my sisters from Gervais was like, oh, no, you didn't, White Owl. You know what I'm saying, you know. And so, but anyway, it was a culture shock, and I won't dwell too much on that. But anyway, I began to understand the Caucasian folk a little better. And I began to learn some things, you know what I'm saying, some things that I would have not ordinarily learned had I not opened up myself, you know what I'm saying, to accepting Julie or to accepting John. And you know, I said, you know, some of these people were not so bad. But then I realized that some of my black friends was worse than some of the crackers. And some of the crackers was better than some of the black friends. And so I said, well, I'm going to stop calling them crackers. I'm going to call them John. You know what I'm saying? And so I stopped calling them crackers. It took me a long time to get over that language because that was the language. And not that I was trying to insult them, but that's what I was taught. They're crackers.
Around what year was this?
Okay, now this going back a little earlier, back in maybe the late 70s.
So you was in like, at this time, you was like maybe high schoolish?
Junior high. Junior high. I had that first white experience, man, in junior high.
So what does it look like as you migrate out of high school? Did you graduate from high school?
I sure did.
And what happened? What was the journey after that?
Well, after high school, I graduated from John T. Hoggett High back in the 80s, go Vikings. And after I left Hoggett, I went to New York, which every year during my school years, I would visit New York during the summer and work during the summer with my uncle in the clothing store on Columbus Circle. He stayed there in New York and in Columbus Circle, Manhattan, so I would work in the clothing store, and I was learning retail. I was learning fashion. I was learning, I also learned how to stitch boots. I became a boot black apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as I grew older, I ended up going to Barclay Business School. And there where I was introduced to culinary arts. And so I began to study the culinary arts, loved it. And matter of fact, my whole family actually are what you can say somewhat chefs. Okay. We're all culinary inclined. I come from a big family. I started cooking at the age of 5, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it was like what we did. It's just that when I went to culinary school, I just, learned some other stuff. Mm-hmm. But needless to say, it was a good trade. And so when I came home back to Wilmington, that's what I did. I started working in the restaurants and things of that nature. And, but that's where the dark side begins. Here I was, graduate from high school and, got that little culinary certificate and doing good. And I'm coming back home to Wilmington, man. I'm going to make my mark. So we had a celebration. And at this celebration, brothers and sisters, I was introduced into this little white ball. And I was like, man, what's that? And, all these guys, some of them had these things, what they call stems, glass stems and pipes. And then some of them had it, and they was crushing it up, and they was putting it in weed. And I would say, man, what in the world is that? And they say, man, you got to try this. And I would say, I don't know, man, I might hit the joint. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we'll hit the joint first. And so I hit the joint, you know what I'm saying? It was back in the day. We was wild a little bit.
What year is this again?
Okay, this is...
average year, just in general. Just
in the early 80s. Let me use that.
Early 80s. Okay, this is around the time that crack cocaine in general was
actually
beginning to spread.
It just started like bumping. It was freebase. And then it came into the actual rock cocaine, that butter scutter, that hard white. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But nevertheless, and that's what it was. They broke me off some of that hard white. And so they crushed it up in the joint, and I smoked it. Next thing I know, I was like, whoa, man, what's this? He said, what'd you think about it? I said, man, I ain't never felt nothing like that in my life. And so he said, well, check this out. He said, this is called a stem. It was a glass Pyrex. He said, you got some charboy, put the charboy in there, and drop this rock on top of it, and you heat it up, and you hit it. Watch how that make you feel. I said, okay, I'm game. We celebrating. I'm celebrating. I'm back in Wilmington, man. I'm about to do this thing. And so I get there, and I hit it. Boom! When I hit it, oh, my eyes, man, almost jumped out of my head. My brain was spinning. It was like, whoa, man, this is better than a woman. Oh, man, this thing is off the chain. My brothers and sisters, it took me nearly 20 years to get my lips off that stem. 20 long years I sucked on a glass stem. And then it began. From that night, I sold every pair of shoes, almost every pair of shoes I had in my closet. I started selling my suits. I started selling everything I could. When I ran out of things to sell and ran out of friends, that's when my life of crime began. I began to enter the life of shoplifting and, and I found myself end up being homeless for 7 long years right here in the city of Wilmington. The same city I graduated from, the same city I love, the same city I say that I'll fight and die for. Here I was, high school graduate, culinary arts specialist. Needless to say, still a pretty great martial artist. But one thing happened to me, and I must say this as I could take a little pause, is that I was always taught to pray. But when I began smoking and indulging, I just stopped praying. I had a little bit of money, a couple $1,000s in my pocket. I was doing good. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really connected to the religious community like that at that particular time. So I went for it. Needless to say, went down here when the prayer stopped. lifestyle. Found myself homeless, living in abandoned houses from house to house for 7 long years. I ate out of more trash cans than the stars in the sky. It was a tumultuous season. I asked myself, how could a man of my stature end up like that? I thought I was gentry house man. I was a gentry house man in high school. I was Mr. GQ. My shoes cost more than your mama car. How could this happen to me? I asked the Lord while I was standing there, laying on that floor, how could this have happened? Didn't see it coming, but that's just what it was. Everybody was doing it. And what made it such a incredible thing, I started seeing officials coming up buying the crack.
So you said everybody was doing it. So is it safe to say that in everyone doing it, a large majority of those individuals, same backgrounds, high school, graduates, yes, disciplined because of, their experience, yes, professionals in a particular field.
Yes.
Did they also too go through that same spin?
Yes, they did. It seemed to be the culture. It was that particular dispensation, if I can use that word, that it was the normal, believe it or not. It was the norm in the inner city. Everybody was smoking. Lawyers was coming through buying crack cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Professional people, businessmen, businesswomen was coming through buying crack cocaine, loaning out their cars. So it was like, it was the norm. And so I got caught up in it, needless to say, and I found myself in the life of homelessness and then into the life of crime, and then found myself becoming institutionalized into the system. And there it was. For a couple of years there, it became a revolving door. It became a revolving door. And each time I promised myself I wasn't going to do it again, but I wasn't changing anything. Every time I got it, I went to change. So, needless to say, after that, I found God. Not religion, but I found God. And when I found God, I found my deliverance. I found my freedom. And so on my last tour of the penitentiary spin, when I came out, I entered into ministry. And that's when everything began to go uphill. I got married, had family, regained my footing back in society, began to do homebound ministry, prison ministry. I went back into the prisons to minister to those brothers who I left there, okay? And so, and then after I did the prison ministry, I began to do nursing home ministry. And then ministry took off. And so I decided to give back. And so after I said, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start teaching martial science. The martial science is going to be part of my ministry. It's going to be a way of getting back into the community. It's going to be a doorway for me to get these folks to trust me again. Because of the things that I did in my past, it was hard for folk to kind of accept me, even though I had went into ministry. So I say they all know me as Mr. Martial Art, White Owl, the great Kung Fu master. So I will use that as a vehicle. So I decided to start teaching in the churches, free classes for the youth, free Qigong, Tai Chi classes for the senior citizens. And after doing that for a while, working some with the police department, doing outreach, feeding the hungry, and witnessing to the brothers and sisters on the corner, doing under the tree ministry. And finally, the word got out, yo, Brother White Owl's a preacher. That brother real. And let me be honest with you, there were some times where I was tested because they wanted to see was I true to the game. And I was tested. And was every test passed? No. But the thing was, I held fast. And I knew that I was called of God. And so I stayed the course. I served under Bishop Cornelius Ellis Anderson, of the Church of God in Christ, at Faith Temple, second ecclesiastical jurisdiction. After serving under him, I worked and served with Bishop Linwood Nesbitt of the CCFIF. New Covenant Church. Right now today, work with my friend and one of my best friends and partners and buddy in ministry, Pastor Terry Henry of the Macedonia Church, right here in the city of Wilmington. Yeah, very good brother, man, and looking forward to doing some more good work with him. Quite a few ministries that we have partnered with right here in the city. The Village with Pastor Redrick, right here in the Village. Pastor Stephen Bradley, who was also one of my mentors. These are great men. Matter of fact, let me a side note. Pastor Bradley, Stephen Bradley, was one of the real soldiers. If I may say it for the public, Pastor Stephen Bradley is one of the real soldiers. He was one of the ones who came in to the penitentiary and began working with me while I was on state. Mother Benjamin, Elder Ronald Montgomery, he was one of my mentors. And so a lot of these brothers that was connecting with me when I was in penitentiary, when I came out, was like my springboard, you know. And so, you know, I take my hat off to these brothers. And so I followed suit. I began to do ministry, man, you know, and as I began to do ministry and teach and train a lot of ministries and help other ministries around the city get off the ground. Teaching Christian education. Now I'm happy to say that I'm a part of the Association of Covenant of Churches under the Apostle Ricky Randolph. Loving and loving on one of the greatest mother pastors I've ever known, Patricia Melvin, excuse me. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I'm kind of excited
okay
now.
No, you're good. So listen, that's a perfect time
Yeah.
to kind of not necessarily wrap, because we're coming back to you, but because that's a whole nother, you know, genre of information that we want to be able to explore, we want to be able to delve into, and we're going to do so. You know what I'm saying? We having both of you guys come back outside of the conversation we're going to have today. But that's an excellent journey, right? You know what I'm saying? We love your sharing and how you shared it. You know what I'm saying? The animation and the genuineness in which you actually got in. We see you every day. It's good everybody else get a chance to see you, right? You kind of went in. But what we're going to do is we'll give Sister Brenda an opportunity to share, and then we're going to come back around. We have some very pointed questions for both of you guys.
Okay.
Once we hear a little bit of narrative of Sister Brenda Galloway. But yeah, excellent.
Hope
So
it's
Sister
all
Brenda,
right.
floor's yours. My sister.
Good evening. I am Brenda Galloway, Brenda K. Galloway. Born and raised right here in Wilmington. Originally, I was informing you all that I grew up, that I was born right in Hillcrest, but it was down on 14th Street, 14th and Church. Okay. Then we moved to Hillcrest. My first memory from Hillcrest was walking to Mary Washington House School.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother, I'm the youngest of four, and I love school, love learning. When we were not in school, we played school at home, and you know I was always the teacher. I remained at the top three of my class. There was Janice Horton and Robert Austin and Arthur James.
Oh, wow.
And we vied for number one all the time, but school was fun.
Yes.
I love spelling bees, where you have to just stand on the side.
Yes.
You sit down when you misspell. We were standing.
Yeah.
Mappies. I just love school, love learning and having programs, rapping the maypole. It was
Yes,
exciting. Our level of education was so high. We had great expectations. There was a school called Miss Pearson's Kindergarten, is what we called it. She attended Ephesus Church, and that's on, what's this, 12, maybe 11th Street, 11th Street between Queen and Worcester. Little cinder block building. And we'd go in there and go to school, and we learn all the fundamentals. So the next place was Howe. So we were at Howe. We were very smart. Everybody wanted to learn. Parents came to school. Parents were really engaged in the school. I remember one time Miss Johnson was our principal there. And my mom came to school one day and found me standing out like an airplane. And that only took one time. Okay, wow. I don't know what I did or what I said, but yeah. So our parents was really engaged in the school system, and school was just fun. Loved it. My grandfather owned the Seahorse Tavern right down the street, so math was fun. We learned to count money. We learned, we enhanced our multiplication and got it all in our head for counting the money from his business, you know, at the kitchen table. But then we moved to Nunn Street. My grandfather bought a home on Nunn Street between 5th and 6th. It is the one house that doesn't exist anymore, but that's a story behind that. Because it's historic, on historic land. It was our home, but it's on the city's property, and there came a time where they wanted us out of there. Okay, Nunn Street was just really a fun place. That block, we played games all day, and in the church, Fifth Avenue's backyard, we threw sticks up there for pecans. The mosquito man would come by and crazy. We would run away from it, but as soon as he passed, we run back in the fall. You know, it's crazy.
That's what we did.
But it was fun. I like marbles. I didn't get to play a lot because that's something I couldn't play with the boys, because my brother was always saying, "Ma, get Brenda, she out here with the boys," you know. But we played jump rope, everything, all kind of games. We knew our neighbors. We had neighborhoods, community. We had community then. We had neighbors. We would go to the store and with a wagon of bottles, Pepsi bottles, and come back with a bag of groceries, because now we're playing house. Just sharing some of my childhood favorites. Everyone had a record player. So on rainy days, we would usually, on any day, everyone would have their 45 waiting to play, waiting to sing their song. So I love to sing. I grew up in church at Mount Calvary Baptist Church. 8th and Harnett was that location at that time. I remember we had to usher, we had to sing, we were on the missionary board, we had to go out of town to be a delegate. We learned to be a delegate, to come back in and bring reports back. So we learned public speaking and communication at a young age. Around the corner from where I lived, we had the YWCA, which was in a Phyllis Wheatley house, where we did home economics, public speaking. We had talent shows so that we would gain our confidence. We did sewing. We sold Gordon potato chips to go to summer camp. I was a Cub Scout with Miss Kennedy. She lives on the corner of 8th and Ann, across from the tennis court. She's a realtor now. She went to realtor. I was a Cub Scout when I learned the Girl Scout honor. We didn't have anyone, it was not offered to our community anymore. Castle Street. Castle Street was one of my favorite places to go. Mays 5 and Dime had a hardwood floor, and the sound of walking on the hardwood and just going and order me a bag of candy, you know, whatever I wanted. The eateries up there, Nakon had the best shrimp burger on 7th and Castle. 5th and Castle, Hall's Drugstore had the best hot dog, hamburgers. Next to the Seahorse, okay? So,
wow.
I really didn't, I know we had Kotler's was our store, black store. Well, that's where we shopped. Simon's, we didn't go there until Easter to get our shoes, because they had the golden egg, and everybody wanted to get the golden egg. Surely it had some prize, but it ended up being Banks, just a trinket for us. There was a man named Mr. Jim. He used to sit on his porch and he bothered nobody, and we'd go ahead and jig at Mr. Jim. Hey, Mr. Jim. Hey, Mr. Jim, you know, just being kids. And we would go check on Miss Walker and just call out and just say, hey, you know, we knew our neighbors, and we knew if we were out of order while we were out just browsing around, they would contact our parents. And that was a no-no. So manners was really big. It was huge. You had to, the parents would tell you, and you better act like you got some sense. You better act like you know how to act.
Yes, sir. That's right.
So my childhood was really just colorful. I didn't have a lot of issues with racism at that time because I could go downtown. Myself, Cynthia Redrick, Pat, we would go downtown, eat at Woolworths. We had no problems with that. So I was really shocked to hear about Greensboro.
Yeah.
So time goes on, we're playing, and I'm just singing. I went over across town. My brother went to a choir rehearsal, but I was too young to join the Voices of Togetherness. So I continued to go to rehearsal with him, and I learned the songs. And I remember one time I went there and I was singing loud. So Reginald said, "Oh, she knows some songs. Let her sing." Because little Mickey was about 4 and she was singing. So, you know, that took my time. That took my interest. And we had over 100 members. It was a youth community choir. And every Sunday we would go with our parents and the entourage from church to church, cross the bridge, from county to county, and we would sing. And that's what I love to do. Sing in all the talent shows that they could have.
Yes, you did.
And so
Did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from John T. Hoggett. My class was 77.
Okay.
Okay. In 76, the January of 77 was my last time attending because I was pregnant. We had day school and night school. Once I got to Hoggett, I really didn't learn anything, really. I was already equipped with what I had from my early childhood education. When I was in the 6th grade, I went to Winter Park. I integrated Winter Park.
What did that mean? You integrated?
Well, I was the only black girl there. Yes. So there was one girl, they really didn't like her either, but she was a white girl, Debbie Butts. Y'all met her. And we are still friends after 50 years. I went to Georgia and came back, and we are still friends. And she just took me by the hand, and she was my buddy. She was my school buddy in school. Now, we moved to Westchester because R.C. Fowler and Cameron Brown decided that they were going to go against the grain because it was written that blacks would not own homes here, and the plan was to raise the rent so that we could not afford to come out of the projects.
Right.
But we always said we are the projects.
Yes.
You know, we were the projects.
Yes.
You know, they named subdivisions and said, oh, they're from the projects.
Right.
That came from us, but we were their projects. You know, so they bought the land. They started in Parkwood first, but they came to Westchester and built that land. We were the third family there. So it was really undeveloped, and I say dirt roads, but my mom said it was paved, but it was a lot of dirt, I guess, in the yards, you know, were not complete. So I guess I remember a day we were coming home because my aunt would pick me up from school on her way to GE and take me to my grandmother's house. And then we would all go back and we would go home. We were going home one day, got ready to turn off Oleander, gone. There was a human barricade, the ROWP, Rights of White People, and the KKK, a human barricade. But I'm glad, I'm thankful that they allowed my mom to turn around and get out of there, because that was just a blessing that allowed us to turn around. So
That was in 76, you said?
no, this was in About 70.
70.
70, 71, the end of 70.
Oh, okay.
The day of the race riots, we had to leave Nunn Street. And as an adult, I learned that all my other friends and everybody had to leave. I thought we just had to leave because there were some issues going on with my grandfather. He was a very powerful man, and he didn't back down. So my mom told me this used to be a factory of some sort. But my mom worked at
Courthouse? The
this whole building was a factory.
Dry cleaners.
And where Queensboro was Francis Neckwear. My mom worked there, and a lot of people worked there. My
mom did too.
brothers wore the baddest neckties and bow ties. You know, they had them all. So what she had to do was find someone. Well, there was someone that worked there from Seabreeze and gave us the route to go down Carolina Beach Road to Myrtle Grove Road to take the back way to get home. I was very young, but I was afraid. I knew that there was danger. You know, I knew it was wrong, but there was nothing I could do because that's what was going on at that time. And we were afraid for our mom, but at that time, she was just such a brave soldier, you know? She was single parent. My dad's from St. Croix, and he was a merchant marine. So when he came here, he married my mom. So I never met him, but I knew he had come to town because when I came home from school, we had beautiful things. We had, I could just smell it now, this maroon knapsack, a real knapsack, and it was burgundy. And the leather was so pungent. Ooh, I just come and sniff it and just put it up. Well, it disappeared one day. But anyway, my mom, she's still with us. She's 84. And I'm trying to keep up with her still. But Westchester was a place where we had a wonderful home. And as I look back over my life, I realized I was not content because I was still at Gervais. See, I had a pass to go to Gervais. So I would wait till this time of the day and the street lights about to come on. I was over there in the street lights where all the singing went on. And you had to qualify to get inside the circle. Well, I qualified. You know, I was one of the youngest and one of the few girls. We had two, Audrey and Lee. And that's where I sang until the singing stopped. You know, I got some problems when I got home many times. But that's where I was. But I knew that somebody was coming by Bob Johnson's store and I could catch the ride home. Little Andy.
That's it.
Okay, catch a ride to Westchester.
That's it.
You know, and people thought we were moving on up.
That's right.
But when you see pickup trucks come through there at night, you know, and you getting racial slurs at you, you know, we had to walk from Westchester Road back to Wallington Road. I don't think nobody else was on Wallington Road with us. And Greg them came later.
Right.
So I had to come. You know, we had to walk to Wallington Road, but
that was woods.
Yes. So it was really a time. But I'll go back to school. When I was at Roland Grice in middle school, there was a principal, Mr. Winehouse.
Yes, sir, buddy.
So I was always one to raise my voice to be heard, you know, say what's on my mind and speak for somebody else. So there was a time or two or three that I was called into the office. And I'm gonna call your mama. No, I don't call my mama at work. When they saw and realized the fear that was in me with them calling my mom, they made a deal. Had me kneel in a chair like this.
That's that paddle,
Put my
buddy.
head down.
Yes, sir, buddy.
So that didn't work. That changed a lot. That changed a lot.
It only happened one time. It was enough, huh?
So one time he had Mr. Brenda.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, I was angry anyway because my sister and brother were at Harvard and they had to fight their way into school. Remember that? They had
Yes.
to fight to get into school, and I didn't understand it. You know, so then it was that time we learned that parents were sending their children to school. We were cool with them yesterday, but today we coming back, and you can't talk to me anymore. You calling me everything but Brenda. So what Brenda did, bam,
Learn to
until
fight.
my grandmother eventually said, you know, that's not good. You cannot keep putting your hands on people's children. You know, but I was angry and I didn't know how to handle it. My mama come from work, the house is clean, dinner's ready, you know, she's worked all day. So she get to my sister, boom, 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 trickle down to number 4. They expect for me to be okay, you know? I can remember a time that I was on the bathroom floor. I had aspirin hang all, okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
I had aspirin all out my mouth and I was waiting on somebody to come in the house.
Wow.
Michael came in, he ran in, the bathroom door was closed, so he left. So finally I got up off the floor. But as an adult, I want to know what took me there. How did I get there? You know, so anyway, as I said, I was a teen mom. And I had shamed my family. That's what happened, you know. I shamed my family.
Yeah.
But okay, so what are you going to do now? You're just not going to sit here. So I enrolled in Southeastern for nursing. My grandmother was a nurse. We had nurses and secretaries in our family. So I enrolled in Southeastern, but I knew phlebotomy was not for me. So I went to beauty school. And I became a licensed beautician. I'm 35 years retired. I left here after my grandfather passed and went to Atlanta, stayed over 20 years there. When I got back here, I saw that things were different, but they were the same. And I was really, I lost my son. My son died in an accident in '09. And I was kind of giving up. Didn't want to give up, but you know, I didn't have any support system and didn't know which way to turn. So I was about to leave town, and then I met Mr. Abdullah. And I went to work with the organization, with the BRC, and worked there for 4 years. And now I'm just still doing the work that I've been doing all my life. I know that my grandparents really paved the way because we were the go-to family. If anyone ever needed anything, they would come to my grandparents. They would come to the house. My grandfather was a head deacon. He counted the church money. My grandmother fed the pastor every third Sunday and took care of all the communion which was sacred. So I knew there was something special about them. I knew there was something special about me, but all I wanted to do was sing. That was my release. That was my relief. Now, my engagement with youth, I have a passion for youth. I mean, I build a relationship with them is what I crave most because I can share my lived experiences with them, and they receive it well. You know, in this world we have a right and a wrong. It's best to do what you know is right. You know, and that's what I give them. Just do what you know is right, and we'll work on the rest. You know, you can tell a child to do this or that, but you can share life experience and tell them and show them, if you do this, these are your options. But if you go this route, then your options change. So, and in order to change my life, my lifestyle, I had to change my options. I had to make some different decisions. I've been inside prison with some bad decisions I made. So you can have the best upbringing. You can have the best parents.
That's right.
We never wanted for money. That's nothing I ever really wanted for. I didn't needed anything. But it comes down to the individual and the choices you make and the places you go, you know, and the things you do. A lot of things I did because I wanted to just be a part of the crowd. Being a part of the crowd is led my mom to become a WPD. She was a cop. She was a cop for a couple of years, about 3 years, and her father made her get off the force. Found that out a couple nights ago.
Wow.
Her dad told her to get off the force because it was really, really heavy. And I said, you know, we joked about it. I said, Mom, you know, you come to get me and Mike, you think you gonna lock us up? She said, you going to jail.
Wow.
She said, you're going to jail, sure enough. But my mom joined the force because there was an ounce of weed found in the house. And it was a big to-do one Saturday morning because Aunt Eastover was pouring it out in the trash can, and nobody knew where it came from.
Wow.
You know, but I confessed today it was mine. And the sad thing is, I was not concerned with what my mama was going through.
Yeah.
Because Aunt Stover was saying, hey, girl, Rosa, oh, girl, they're going to lock you up. Oh, they're going to take your house. They're going to do this and they're going to do that. My concern was what old man and Fred was thinking.
Wow.
Because we had just rolled up on 20 ounces and they only tried 19. They went to Fred's house and they thought I stole it. They thought I stole my own weed that we got from Kids Lunch. You know? Yeah.
Name a name, Jess.
Sorry about that. But yeah, that's in school, and I'm going somewhere else, but yeah, that's how it was because in school, it was not a welcome place for us. So we found other things to do.
Of course.
We go to the necessary classes, and then we head to the beach. Well, the Beach Boys had all the weed. They giving you shoe boxes of it, and we give them some pills. I mean, that's just how it was. We get them the pills from the 7-Eleven. Speckerberg, Black Beauties, whatever. It was good trade for me, you know what I'm saying? And it was just something to do. I can tell y'all some stories, but I know I don't have time for it all.
But look at
right
though,
now.
we
That's why my mom
Oh.
went to be a cop, so she could learn about drugs and children, what's going on, what's accessible to us.
Yes.
This type of thing.
Yes.
Y'all can edit some of this. You know?
No, it's live. Look at that, it's live, baby. So listen, but look at though, this is awesome though. I'm gonna tell you what it's all about, right? It's all about giving context to why individuals like you guys do what you do today, and why you do it so well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And again, you know, Sister Galloway and you know what I'm saying, Shihan, like they administer medicine to the community. But the medicine is based off of, you know what I'm saying, what you actually experience. Right?
Yes.
I gave you a quick concept of a pearl. Y'all know how pearls are made in oysters?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yes.
So they go to the bottom of the actual ocean,
Oh, yeah.
right? And the actual sand from the ocean gets into the clam,
Right.
right? And it's
Irritation.
the irritation,
Yes.
right, from the actual sand that over time, right, evolves into a pearl, right? It literally has to adjust itself, right? Not just because it's at the bottom, that's one
Right.
thing, but it's being irritated, it's being agitated by the sand, right, that it's exposed to. And it turns it into this thing that we value that's so precious, right? You guys are examples of that, right? And what we wanted to do, because you guys want to we're going to ask some questions here in a second. Vance got I know he's been itching to ask you, right? So look at. And I got a couple questions to ask you too. But what I wanted to give context to everybody, this is what we understand to be like, you know, it's historical consciousness, man. If we don't understand the history of our people, the history of a particular region, and connect it to what's going on now, and connect it to the people that's doing the work, right? It's two things that happen. People continuously are able to actually circumvent the people who are offering the real medicine in our community. The organizations and the human beings. So that was one of the reasons of having you guys here, to kind of show what medicine is in our community, in these human beings, right? The second piece is around, you know, this concept of giving voices to individuals that if you're not playing by certain people's games, they're not going to give you a voice.
Right.
They're not going to make you heard. They're not going to make you seen. Right? And we're trying to build this community health worker model here locally, you know what I'm saying? And you guys exhibit the epitome of that concept. individuals who come from communities, trusted community members, right, that actually take their struggle, take their hardship, right, and then they turn around and they actually administer care,
Absolutely.
concern,
Absolutely.
right, and
That's
healing
right.
to the community.
That's
right?
it.
But it's based off of your expertise, and your expertise is in your journey.
Yes, that experience.
So we appreciate you guys sharing that. You know,
Yes.
and both of you guys are going to get a chance to come back and be on this platform individually and
Yes.
share more about what it is, the work you do, the ministry, the martial science, the community health worker, Hope, your organization that you've been able to establish throughout all the other different things that's been going on professionally.
Yes.
You've been able to birth this another pearl, right?
Yes.
But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Vance to ask you a few questions. And before we end up, you know what I'm saying, closing out, I have one or two questions for you as well, too.
Yeah, and this is for Shihan Whiteout. And this is concerning the martial arts piece and then the transition into the streets, that piece, and all that you were taught, all the things that you were taught, the discipline, the science, the art in itself, and your interaction with your peers, and using those forms in a negative and positive way. When you were saying it, I kind of reflected as a professional, is that we are taught certain things, we do certain things, but then how do we treat our peers?
Right.
How do we treat our community? And what effect does that have on us, right? Like when you have this art, and you have this science, and then you go that different route. Psychologically and spiritually, what effect does that have on just you as a person? What effect did that have on? Did it make your situation worse as you was knowing these skills, knowing how to hurt people, knowing how to break things down, know how to manipulate, know how to do all of these things? Eventually, how did that wire your mind? How did that?
That's a
make you
good
feel?
question. I often share that story with my wife, my beautiful wife, who actually pastored with me with the Rose of Sharon, the Evangelical Outreach Ministries, right here in Wilmington. And I shared it because she would ask me that same question. She said, "Well, how could you be so disciplined, and then at the same time so corrupt? Let's just keep it real." And so again, I like what Sister Brenda said. It was a conscious decision, but it helped me in a good way to survive, in the sense of being able to cope with environment, being able, like the homelessness years, living in those homeless places. I was deep into transcendental meditation.
Gotcha.
So when I was in those abandoned houses, I was gone, man. I would get in that corner and I would just meditate, and I would go to a different level. I would zoom out. I would go to the point of total zen. And some days I would go in that night, and some mornings or the next day I would still be zoomed out until late into that next evening of the next day, and wouldn't return back to my shell until late on. And I would do it a lot. I didn't quite understand how the traveling was taking place, but I knew I was getting good at it. And so, with that, I was able to escape certain realities. And then too, the art of stealth, I was trained to walk and not be heard, to move and not be seen. And sadly to say, I was able to walk into a man's house while they were home and go through his house, take what I want, and walk out while they were there. One night, I slept in this person's house for 3 days, 3 nights. They never knew I was there. Because of my martial experience, I was stuck up under their bed, and I laid still for 3 days and 3 nights, like a recluse spider, because of my martial training. And I was able to exit after they left and went to work. After I got me something to eat, of course. And then too, with that, walking down the street, I didn't have money, keep in mind, but I had skill.
Right.
Sometimes they would say, hey man, show me some moves. And I would show them some moves. And sometimes I was in the type of mind that, man, I want some crack, or I wanted this. Yo, give me that.
Right.
And it was like, yo, man, don't kick me, man, don't kick me out. And so it was, you know, it was a tumultuous time. And then there were some times where, you know, folk would see me and I would be that philosopher guy.
Yeah.
I would come back, you know what I'm saying, to that reality. And so, like I said, it was some good days and it was some bad days. But then again, it was some days where I wouldn't eat at all. And the martial art helped me with that. You know what I'm saying? Being able to meditate and to sustain and living in harsh conditions, because some of my martial training was harsh. I can't say it all, but I was put in some very compromising situations. Yeah. And that's why I say we didn't train for belts or trophies. We trained for life.
Gotcha.
And so the martial art played a very intricate part of my survival.
Gotcha, brother.
Yes.
Ms. Brenda, you said, it is very interesting. You said we had neighbors. We had neighbors, and we had a community, and it's kind of giving me a framework of how you operate now. Mm-hmm. Do you think that your past, right? Is it motivated by what you want to see? Because I noticed these different, I mean, you even taught me YWCA. I didn't know that YWCA was located at a woman's house. I didn't know that, right?
That was ours.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't go to the YMCA.
You couldn't go to the
couldn't go
YMCA.
there.
I didn't know. But, and that's some historical things that our community needs to know. But I'm just trying to think, is that one of the reasons why because you mentioned all these different things. You even mentioned people in our neighborhood that were teachers, that were mentors. Is that the reason why you do what you do now? Is it that you want to see this again, that community, that, you know, just trying to get a take of your passion now? What's your driving force? What drives you? What pushes you?
Well, my past has certainly fuels my today. Nobody knows what's going on in a child's mind, what's in their head. They come in and out of homes every day. But who sits down to say, well, what's going on? How was school today? Oh, it was good. You know, so I try to reach individuals and in hopes that I can influence, be able to influence with them to do better. So they have a quality life. We say quality of life and longevity of life. Yeah, that's so very important. And if I can share something and if I can help somebody along the way, then what my living is not in vain. But children I know today are not receiving the attention or interaction with parents, community members. Like now, my neighbor down the street or around the corner could say, hey girl, you know better than that. Where you going? Don't cross that street. But now if you approach children now, it could be a confrontation, you know? And their parents will straighten you now about saying anything to their, checking their child, you know, and that's just really bad. You know, it is so important that you know your surroundings. You need to know who lives next to you. You need to know what's going on with the lady around the corner. And that's what's been embedded in me since a kid. So for me, a lot of it came naturally to just see about others, being kind to others. But, you know, I was on my own thing, you know, but being a stylist in the hair salon, I got so many stories. People have so much inside they just need listening ears sometimes. So, yes, my past fuels my future, my today and the future of the community, of our children. Because if I can help a young lady keep her legs shut, preserve herself, know who she is, and not be a teenage mom, then I'm doing the right thing. If I can keep someone from trying a drug,
Amen.
you know,
That's right.
medicating themselves, you know, if I can lend an ear, usually a listening ear would take care of a lot of things.
Yes.
It's a solution,
Just listen.
you know, to the root causes. You have to actually listen to them. You have to know them and listen to them and learn them. Learn your people, your community. Give ear to them. When they know you're serious about what you're doing, then they pay attention and they open up. So if I can share what being locked up was, and getting tired of being locked up like an animal,
That's
treated like a monkey, talked to any kind of way.
real monkey.
If I can share that with a child today, or an adult, whoever, if I can share that and they don't walk that road, then I gotta get up and keep at it.
Absolutely. So just one last question for both of you guys. We at Sokoto House know and appreciate you guys, but both of you guys have some very primal roots and origins here inside Sokoto House. So how about you share with the audience a little bit, the community who may not know, other people who do know, just remind them, you know, when did you first encounter Sokoto House, and what do you consider yourself, your role as in Sokoto House as a community member, community leader, and your relationship with the space in general? So anyone can start first.
Well, I'm community outreach coordinator here at Sokoto House. And what I do is just build relationships with our community.
When did you first get encountered with Sokoto House?
My first encounter with Sokoto House was when you first got here. And I'm like, okay, I'm with it. And as time went on, it was cold, it was damp, and we got an invite. And Brother White Owl was in here. And I brought my youth in here, brought a family in here. We had a little group, and we did some breathing. And he had some one-on-one with the students. And when we left out of here, it was cold. I had my feet up off the floor a little bit. But we couldn't leave. But when we left out of here, we were floating. I was floating.
Amen.
Just from taking natural breaths.
Yes.
So I continued to keep an eye on Sokoto House and Brother Abdullah with what he was doing. And I saw where he actually went to 8th Street between Queen and Worcester. Was really a trap over there, and kind of gutted out this house, ran everybody off, ran all the junkies and everybody out, and
Vance helped with that too.
renovated, yes, and Vance, yeah. A couple other community members, they renovated the house, and now it's up and running. Has a structured program. And then he continued to say, come on by Sokoto House. You got to come on up here. Come on by the building. So I'm glad I did. And we're bringing organizations in now to, because we need support
What's the name
from
of your
our
organization?
community.
What's the name of your organization?
Name of my organization is HOPE. HOPE is helping others proceed effectively.
Love
I
it.
chose that with the youth. We kind of did that because it covers everything. I've encountered a couple of organizations, and you're limited. So that's the big umbrella. Very soon, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to launch Queen Sister. We're going to do official launch of Queen Sister, and that's just enhancing the lives of young ladies, inspiring them. We came up with joy, justice, opportunity, youth leadership. So youth development is my passion. I'm also, I work with Al John Williams Teens Against Violence, co-founder of Moms in Mourning. One of my issues here is with all the violence going on in the city, none of these organizations are being funded for the work that we're putting in.
Big problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Big problem. That's, to me, that's the #1 problem inside of actual Wilmington is where our government organizations and larger umbrella nonprofit organizations are prioritizing their funding and how systemically and habitually they keep circumventing and going around these community-based organizations that's out here on the ground doing things
Absolutely.
for free and helping their community, but they're trying to organize themselves in order to be able to receive resources to do the work better. Thank you for sharing that, Sister Galloway. You can get an opportunity to come back and speak more intimately about your organization, more intimately about your role and your previous work when you was working with the BRC, but you still contributed and helped to lead inside this community while you was actually employed there. So that work needs to be highlighted and made visible so that more community members are actually, they see themselves. We need to see ourselves, right, having impact and leading and whatnot. So Brother Shihan,
Yes.
tell us about your relationship with the Sokoto.
If I can go back, at that particular time, I think I was introduced to the Sokoto House. I think it started with Bishop.
No, it was Bishop. It was Bishop.
Yeah, with
Bishop
Bishop Gerald Williams. I was
Uh-huh.
working with the
Yeah.
GCOC, God
Yeah.
Outreach Coalition, Comprehensive Coalition.
Yes.
And we were working down together at the Police Command Center on 3rd Street. He had a group of senior citizens he was working with, and I had introduced him. We had a conversation concerning martial science, health and healing ministry.
Yes.
And I was telling him it was part of the Rose of Sharon outreach ministry, health and healing ministries. It's
Yes.
just a component of my ministry. It's a part of the health and healing ministry. And we sat down and talked about it. He said, well, come on by the command center and I want to introduce you to the mothers that is over there. And him being a bishop and me being a pastor. And I said, okay, we can partner. And we did. And I ended up going down there teaching the mothers Qigong, Tai Chi and Qigong. One of the members of that group, and I'm going to get to it real quick, was one of my mother's best friends, Miss Ann Carr. And she was in that group. And I remember my mother telling me that before she passed, she said, Reggie, the senior citizens need somewhere to go because they're having trouble getting back and forth from the senior citizen center and people will leave them, won't come pick them up on time. We got to do something to help these people in our community. She said, you need to do something. And I said, I need to do something. She said, yeah, you need to do something. And so I said, what I'm going to do, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get with Bishop Williams. I met this bishop, he dealing with seniors. So I got with them and I said, Bishop Williams, this is what I want to do. I want to work with the senior citizens, teach Qigong and Tai Chi, but I want to name it after my mother, the Shirley B. Robinson Qigong Health and Fitness Group.
There you go.
He said, sure, we can do that. So I named the group after my mom, Shirley B., rest in peace.
Yes,
And so that's where we met. And then after a while, it began to grow. And so he said, well, man, it seems to be working. And so after some of the members were coming back, the senior citizens would say, hey, man, the doctor told me I don't need this medicine anymore. Hey, I don't need this cane anymore. And we were getting these medical reports coming back like, hey, man, this Qigong and this Tai Chi is working. And I got a letter from one of the doctors like, whatever you're doing, keep her doing it. One guy, he couldn't even walk. I won't call his name, but he couldn't even walk. And 3 months of that class, that brother was walking. To God be the glory. Nevertheless, so we moved to, what's the name of it? The senior citizen building over there. I can't call it. Nevertheless, when we got over to the other senior citizen building, I can't quite call the name. There were so many of them.
Little John.
Yeah, but anyway,
Global Plaza.
Global Plaza. We formed that last group I formed was over at Global Plaza, and that's when he said, I got somebody I want you to meet. He said, this brother is dynamic. he's like yourself. He's a community activist, and that's some of your stuff. You know, you're an evangelist, and he got some tools that he can introduce to you, and the things that you got going, man, y'all need to hook up. And I said, well, okay, you know, give me the number, and we're going to talk. So I called this brother Abdullah, Honorable Brother Abdullah, I called him that. And so I said, you know, put on my Panther voice. I say, grace and peace, brother. And he said, grace and peace. How you doing? This is a Muslim brother, right? And so I got to get it right. And so we having this conversation. I said, well, I was talking to Brother Bishop Williams, and he said that we need to get together. We got some things we can work on together. He said, sure. He said, let's meet together. We're going to have some coffee. Yeah. So we met up at the coffee shop, and we sat down there. And so this is I told my wife. I said, when I first saw this brother, you know what I'm saying, the first thing I thought about was Booker T. Washington. He had this abolitionist hairdo going on, man. He had the beard, and he was suave. He had his briefcase. I said, man, I got to really put my Black Panther on, man. I said, I can't play with this guy, man. He's like really, you know, one of the guys right on. But anyway, I was just kidding. But anyway, we had a good conversation. He said, yeah, we got this place. He told me about this building. And I want you to come by and just check it out, man. We're going to do some things in there, man. Matter of fact, I want you to come on in, man, and we're just going to just start with the dojo. We're going to get the dojo rolling. I said, well, okay, I'll come and take a look at the spot, man, and see what we can do. He said, now, we just in a raw, so, you know what I'm saying, you're going to have to be patient. I said, okay, no problem, man. I've been in dojos. So we get in here, and when we first got in here, and we opened the door, we had to clean the spider webs from the door. I was like, man, there's the big spiders everywhere.
Water's dripping out the roof.
I was like, wow. And then by the time I got halfway in the building, water was like just dripping and little parts of the roof was falling. And then he said, man, just step over that water puddle over there, man. We're going to be over here. I said, cool. So I'm like, all right. He said, okay, man. I'm like, well, maybe when he cut on the lights, it's going to get better. No, we had this light bulb screen from this end and a light bulb from that end. That was it. And he brother said, well, don't worry about it, man. It was freezing cold. And I was trying to keep my Shotokan face on. I said, yes, no problem, you know. And so we started talking. He said, yeah. So I said, well, let's, plug up the heat. He said, man, this is it. I said, well, okay. I said, no problem. So he said, you know what? I'm going to introduce you into this science, what I call Qigong breathing. And I say, this is the right environment to make right that this work, this techniques work. I say, once you learn how to breathe, this air, this cold that you feel will no longer exist. Your body heat began to take over, and man, you level off. You become one with the environment. And it's like, yeah, okay, man, but which I knew he had some knowledge of what I was talking about. And so we did. Matter of fact, he's the first original student. And so, no, on the real. And so we were in here working out, man, and then it was more water puddles, and so we'll move over here, and it was more water puddles, so we'll move over here. I said, man, this is going to be great. I said, this is going to be a great dojo. And he started telling me, I said, man, I can see it now. And then the next time I come in, he said, man, we can't go over there, man. They got this whole area like blocked off because like water's like everywhere, and it was leaking all over here. I said, that's okay, we can go over here, man. So we, it was in the raw, man. It was cold. It was air, holes in the wall. But we did the dojo because I caught a hold to the vision that this brother was talking about. I saw the vision, and I said, you know what? We're going to do it. And so we came in, and we started the dojo. And we started up with some Qigong and 8 diagram.
A few other brothers joined us.
Brother Yasin came along, and some other brother Tiger Mike, and some other brother, and we had his son. Yeah. These are the original beginners. And believe it or not, this little dude, Mike's son, was here when it was cold, freezing cold, and we had a bag that hung, and we was hitting this bag. We was fully functioning because why? The Qigong worked. Yeah. The technique worked. What we were doing was work. And so then I became well acquainted with Brother Abdullah. Not only that, 2 years going strong, he began to teach me, a whole different language, about a whole different culture.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
Yeah, okay.
So listen, I just want to share with you guys. That's awesome. The reason why I want to share that is because you guys are not only pillars, and this is important, really important. I think we're about 20 minutes in or something like that in the video. And they may catch it, they may not catch it, depending on if they listen to the whole conversation. It was an amazing conversation. This is a part of community participatory research. This is about capturing the narratives of our community, right? And for people who are professionals and people who are just new to the city, something they can plug into and hear some heartfelt details about this city and journeys of people who's helping to actually change the city. This is what this was all about today, right? And both of you guys are going to get a chance to come back and actually share more detail about what you're doing professionally and the programs you're moving.
Yes.
But the last question I just asked, right, is about also giving people the sense of what does it really take to take a dormant asset. Right now, you know, you have literally, you have the Vance Williams, right? You know what I'm saying? You have the JoJos and you have the Kevins, right? And you have all these energies and people's coming in, right? The OCs coming in and we're moving and things are grinding, right?
Yes.
And they would, if they would have been introduced to it early on, they would have been what it is that you guys was. Community members, right, that has concern about their community, see something happening, no matter what it looks like on the surface, plug in, stay connected, and over time continue to support it. That's what it looks like to take a dormant asset, a physical building, a physical space that's not being used, and when human spirit occupies it and begins to animate it. Over time, this is what becomes possible. Right, so a lot of people don't know that part of the actual journey. Right, a lot of people's hopping on board because Sokoto House got a name and there's some activities and whatnot. Right, a lot of people staying away because the Sokoto House is also still real vocal and staying true to what its actual vision is. But what I wanted them to also know too, because it's not about Sokoto House, right? It's about, you know what I'm saying, elevating the work that takes for Sokoto House to exist and being able to duplicate it as many places as possible. Human beings coming together, collaborating, coordinating together and saying, listen, if we can come together and build something together, we can all then branch out and continue to build more. Even if this thing disappears, everybody walks away, have their organizations, they have their programs, right? And they build capacity to grow. So I want to first thank both of you guys for your early on support. You know what I'm saying? Not just the Sokoto House, but you know what I'm saying, family and friends. Brenda's been taking care of my family since I've been here. Inside of Wilmington, North Carolina. Real talk, right? You know what I'm saying? The first to embrace me when I came to Wilmington. No talk. And then yourself. You know what I'm saying? Befriending us, supporting us in our efforts. You know, currently right now, Vance Williams, y'all been knowing him for some years as well too. Supporting him, being here, being able to let us conversate, talk with each other when we having problems, being a place of kind of like, you know, bouncing things off the wall, right? So we thank you guys and we hope that Wilmington increases in their appreciation of you, right? And their the value of you, and others like you. Your generation is vital. Your generation is key.
Absolutely.
Right? And the ones that's at the table, it's good. There need to be a whole lot more at that table. So again, Sokoto House, thank you guys for kicking this off for us. We'll be having a whole lot more conversations. A whole lot more opportunities to learn about more community members.
We want to thank you as well, brother.
No, we're good, man. You know what I'm saying? This is all, we're doing this together, man. I just appreciate you guys putting yourself on the spot and sharing about your narratives and beautiful stories. God bless. Wilmington, y'all have a blessed one, and we'll be talking with you soon. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, JoJo. Thanks, my sister. You know what I'm saying? Peace.